Oh, can you hear me now? How does that sound? All right, you guys know the drill here. Whenever I get on live, I have to make sure that you guys can hear me. So I'm going to do that right now. And then we will take a look at those storms across Tennessee, Arkansas, and Louisiana. So give me just a minute and then we will get started here. We are tracking a tornado warned storm up to the north here. And then we are also tracking several severe thunderstorm warnings as well. We've got a little bit of hail with this. We've also got some pretty strong wind. So let's check my mic levels. Tommy says that he can hear me. Okay, perfect. No echo. I can hear myself as well. So put your weather questions in the comment section and we'll get to those here in just a few minutes. Zooming out, giving you a big look at what we're seeing right now. And I'm actually going to take some of these things off of here so that you can really see what we're looking at. Okay, here's just the radar. So what we're watching for here is this line of storms that stretches anywhere from the northern side of western Tennessee all the way down to places like Shreveport and central Louisiana. So you can see that line of really strong storms right there. Now, going up to the north, we've got more of a snow event in Indianapolis. And then we've got some really heavy rain going into Cincinnati. Not terribly worried about that right now for that severe risk. And then we could see some ice highlighted here in this blue-green, anywhere from Charleston to Richmond, and then snow up to the north. But you're probably wanting to see exactly what we are watching in terms of severe weather. So we did have a few tornado warned storms earlier on this evening. There's your tornado warnings that went into Memphis. Memphis was under a tornado warning here just a few minutes ago. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning now highlighted there in yellow, and I'll play that all the way through so that you can see that radar. Maybe my radar may not be wanting to do that. Okay. But yes, just a few. It's a severe thunderstorm warning for Memphis right now, and then a severe thunderstorm warning highlighted here in yellow for places like Covington and Ripley. And then if you head farther up to the north, I don't see any tornado warnings. One tornado warning right here, just to the south of Central City, Madisonville. So and this is actually in Kentucky. This tornado warning is in Kentucky. We will get more down into each one of those storms here in just a minute. We also have several severe thunderstorm warnings down in southern Arkansas and central Louisiana. This one going into Nacogdoches. This one for Hall Summit and Ashland, Louisiana. And this last one just right along the northern Louisiana, central Louisiana state line into Arkansas. So that's what we're watching for right there. It seemed like these storms took forever to really start to become more impressive. And then once they did, they just blew up with those tornado warnings, with those severe thunderstorm warnings, and that's what we have right now. So let's actually, you're going to have to bear with me as I move over to some of our other radar products. So you know how this goes whenever I have to produce by myself. It is a little bit more difficult for me to get things done quickly. So you're going to have to bear with me here. But these are some more of our specific radar products. Up on the upper left where you can see my mouse, this is your classic reflectivity. You can see that right here. It's what you normally see whenever you look at the radar. But as meteorologists, we can use a bunch of different products to show different things that are happening in the storm. So right here, highlighted in these red and green colors, this is your wind speed and wind direction, storm relative velocity. Down here on the bottom left, this is your correlation coefficient. This is great to detect debris and a potential tornado. And then highlighted right here is your normalized rotation. Also great to detect a tornado, especially in these lines of storms. You could get embedded tornadoes, and it's great to have that normalized rotation to see if we are seeing a tornado or anything rotating in these lines of thunderstorms. We can change this to VIL, which actually indicates potential hail, and it does look like we could be getting some hail with this going into Memphis right now. Not terribly impressive in terms of size. What we're seeing radar indicated right now is potentially up to an inch, maybe up to a little over 3/4 of an inch of hail size. Not terribly impressive, maybe a little bit more impressive up by Ripley. And I don't think that we've gotten any hail reports yet, but we'll keep an eye on that for you. And then as we go farther up, we've got some really good rainfall totals up here as well, which we've got so many flood watches in effect right here. Another tornado warned storm up in Kentucky. But let's go back down to Memphis because I think this is a bigger city that a lot of people are keeping an eye on. And if you have any questions, stick them in the chat. I can see Facebook right in front of me, but I can actually pull up YouTube as well and see if we've got any questions from YouTube going on right now. Josh Smith says, hello. Ford, any storms in Houston? Let's take a look. Here's your bigger map. We can go down to Houston. It looks dry in Houston right now. Not even any rain for Houston right now. We've got a little storm next to Dallas and Canton. It's not severe warned. All of that severe weather is in this line anywhere from Louisiana to Arkansas, going up here to Memphis, into Tennessee, and actually several tornado warned storms in Kentucky. They may have released those or let them expire because I don't see those on here anymore. So let's go back down to Memphis. Let me switch back over, show you some better radar products here. Here's what we're looking for in Memphis right now. Potentially some hail and definitely some strong wind coming into this area. Your wind speed right here is looking, well, let's see what the severe thunderstorm warning is warned for. Going into Memphis, we could see up to 60-mile-per-hour wind. I think that's definitely possible with this. Up to 1-inch hail and a tornado is possible. And that's what I was talking about earlier, that you're going to get these little notches in the line of storms. In this big, long line of storms, this is what we call embedded tornadoes. And if we can get some sort of organization, if these storms don't move too fast, we could get some sort of organization, and that could create little spin-up tornadoes. Now, we like to say spin-up tornadoes, but even though they're fast, doesn't mean that you're sorry, I'm reading some messages, but little spin-up tornadoes, even if they're fast, doesn't mean that they're not strong. They could still be strong here. And actually, the National Weather Service was warning for potential strong tornadoes, EF2 or greater, with these severe outlooks that they had. Let's see what our question was on here. I saw one question popped up here. Joey says we need hail in Chicago. Unfortunately, not seeing any hail coming for Chicago. We've got Tiffany on here. Thanks for joining us today. All right, let me know if you have any specific questions and we can get into that. But yeah, this is what we're seeing right now. This actually seems like a pretty decently slow moving storm here, because I've been watching this for the last half hour, expecting it to come into Memphis a little bit faster than it has, and it's still sitting right on the outskirts of Memphis right now. And we can go back and show you the exact motion of this so you know which direction it's moving. It's a northeast direction, but slowly as a big line pushing to the east here. So this is what we've seen over the past about half hour here. Here's what the National Weather Service is saying about this storm that's coming into Memphis. They're saying hail damage to vehicles is expected. Expect wind damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Remain alert for a possible tornado. Tornadoes can develop quickly from severe thunderstorms. We talked about that. If you spot a tornado, go at once into the storm shelter or a small room in a sturdy structure. We always talk about the innermost room of your house is what you want. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Oftentimes that may be a closet or possibly a bathroom. No rooms with windows is what you want if you see a tornado or if you have a tornado warning. Even some of this high wind, you're definitely wanting to put as many walls in between you and the outside as possible. And I guess I spoke too soon because I said that these storms were moving pretty slowly, but their eastward motion could be slow, while their northeast motion may be a little bit faster. It's northeast at 55 miles an hour. That's what we're getting from these storms right now. That's their storm motion. And you can see that they're moving to the north and east, but truly that big long line is slowly tracking to the east. Ford asking, is mobile homes good for tornadoes? No, you definitely do not want to be in a mobile home if you have a tornado coming for you. That is probably one of the worst places that you could be. Let's see if we've got any reports out here, any hail reports. I don't see any on our map right here. I don't see any hail reports at the moment. However, our VIL, it's VIL, that's what you're looking at in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right here. That's what these blues and greens are. That often shows, is a good indicator of showing hail. It's not always correct, but it definitely is a good indication of where you need to look for the largest hailstones. And we've got a few little pockets in here from Anthonyville to Marion. It looks like we could have a pocket of hail. Right outside to the north of Memphis and Clarkdale, also a pocket of hail. Going up to the north here as we get into Atoka, Gilt Edge, just to the south of Gilt Edge along the river here and along the state line. Maybe even some decent sized hail with this, potentially up to the size of a quarter. Again, I say decent sized hail. It's a relative term, you know, compared to what we have been getting over the past few weeks, compared to what we normally see in February. You don't often see those really big hailstorms in February, but hey, we'll take what we can get, right? Anything is better than nothing. Here we have Ripley. We could see some hail with this, and then we also could see some potential rotation with this as well. And Harley also saying the same thing that we said earlier. Thank you for joining us, Harley, saying mobile homes are very dangerous for tornadoes. Absolutely. Let's take a look at some of our other products here. Switching through, KDP is what you see at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen right here. This is a good indication of extreme heavy rain or some potential hail. We're just seeing some really dense particles in the atmosphere, which could be hail or it could be heavy rain. What else are we seeing here? We are getting some rotation right here. So let's see. Yeah, we could have a possible tornado going on here. Let's zoom out. What are we looking at right here? So there's your line of storms. Let's get our bearings. Where are we at here? We're in central western Tennessee. It's on the far western side. There's the state line that goes into Arkansas. There's the state line. Now we're in Tennessee, right in the center of the state, or right in the center of the western side of the state here. And we are getting we're watching this spot right here, so I'll put that red dot over it. That's what we're watching for. Potentially rotating right there. And it is included in a severe thunderstorm warning, and this severe thunderstorm warning says, let me get to it. Actually, now we have a hail report, 1.5 inches size hailstone has been observed with this. So as we mentioned earlier, I said either heavy rain or hail. It could be both, and it does look like we are getting some hail out of this storm here. Great to see that in February. You don't often see that in February. This storm is picking up speed, moving 65 miles an hour. That biggest hazard here is ping pong ball sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. The source of this hail report, our trained weather spotters at 623 golf ball sized hail, was reported at Richardson Landing. And once again, this, even though it's a severe thunderstorm warning, the National Weather Service is also saying that a tornado is possible in this line of storms. I wonder if we could pull What did I say earlier? Richardson Landing up on the map here. So you guys can see exactly where that hail report was. Let's see, it looks like it's right around this area. This could be what we're looking at here. Richardson Landing. Anyway, that's where that golf ball sized hail was. Let's go back down to Memphis. Let's see what Memphis is now. The center of Memphis is now getting rain. Some high wind associated with this as well, up to 60 miles an hour, and you could see some small hail with this as well. Something about these storms is that they can change very quickly. They can pulse up and they can pulse down in intensity. So even though we could be getting small hail right now in Memphis, it could become larger within just a few minutes. So we'll keep an eye on that. We can go back to our VIL product here, and we are seeing maybe some potentially small hail here in Memphis, maybe up to the size 3/4 of an inch. Maybe just smaller than the size of a quarter. That looks like the most impressive in Memphis right now. However, if we go up to the north, and we're also getting heavy rain, if you see any bowing segments here, you can kind of see that these storms, this line of storms kind of bows out that backwards C shaped. That means that we're getting some strong wind as well. But again, we are seeing the most impressive area of this line of storms just to the south of Friendship, just to the south of Halls, Tennessee, headed into Alamo, headed into Maury City right now. Some really impressive signatures here in terms of hail. So I bet that we are getting some hail out of this as we speak. Let's see if we can find any pictures. Sometimes if we look for pictures on social media, people will be posting about the hail in this area, and we can show you exactly what they're seeing right now. Let's see if we can find anything here. All right, this storm has now been warned, tornado warned, and you can see exactly why. It looks like we are getting some rotation here. It's not terribly tight rotation, which is what we need to see for a tornado. And also, if you look at where the radar is and where we have that tornado warning right here, we're quite a ways away from the radar. So we're looking high up into this storm. We're not looking at it at the surface. Let's go to normalized rotation. Okay, we've got a little bit of rotation here. I'm looking right here. This is where I'm looking, right where that red box is. I'm looking at a little bit of rotation. Again, looking high up into the storm, so I'm not quite sure exactly if this is on the ground or not, but rotation is definitely there. Let's go to some Tennessee Department of Transportation cameras, and let's see if we can see anything. Do we have any cameras in this area? This is near Friendship, Halls, Alamo, Ripley, just to the north of Memphis, Tennessee. And it doesn't look like there's any cameras in this area. It looks like the closest camera is quite a ways away, so we can't get any camera or any real-time reports from this storm right here. If this is not rotating, we definitely have some strong winds with this. I think that it definitely is seeing some sort of rotation, but definitely some strong winds. This tornado warning is warned for, this is what the National Weather Service is saying right now. Moving at 55 miles an hour. Maximum hail size 1 inch. Well, we've already seen some larger hailstones from this, so we could see larger than the size of a quarter, larger than that 1 inch size hail. Let's see what else they're saying about this. They're also talking about the rain in this area. Flash flooding is ongoing or expected to begin shortly. That's what they're saying. So not only are you dealing with the high wind, the potential tornado, potentially large hail, you're also dealing with a lot of rain coming at you very, very fast. So it doesn't necessarily matter how much rain that you're getting, it matters how fast that you're getting it. So if you get rain too fast, you guys have seen those pictures, or maybe you've even been in a storm that just dumps a ton of water on you. If it comes in too fast, where does it go? It'll flood off into the streets. You're going to have some traffic issues. You're going to see flooding and ponding on the roadways. So that's something that they're also warning for here. Flash flooding is ongoing or expected to begin shortly, per the National Weather Service. They say 1 inch of rain has already fallen. Additional rainfall amounts up to 1 to 3 inches are possible. You guys know the drill here. Turn around, don't drown. When in doubt, take another route. Looking at some other products here. Let's actually go back to, while we're watching this storm, I'll keep an eye on it for you guys, but I want to go back to our Tennessee Department of Transportation cameras. We are getting quite a bit of traffic in downtown Memphis right now. Pretty understandable. You know, you can't really go anywhere whenever it's raining so hard. Got some lightning out there. Okay, let me show you guys what I'm seeing here. Bear with me as I switch over. Amy hopping on here. Thanks for the updates. Of course, I'm glad to be here right now. Okay, let's see if I can switch over to Tennessee ODOT camera. There we go. Alrighty, you guys can now see what I'm seeing. Here we go. This is Memphis. So if we look at downtown Memphis, look at all of that red that we're seeing pop up in downtown Memphis. People can't go anywhere, but if we take a look at the cameras, it does look like we still have people on the road right now. You can see that car right there. It's going off into the distance over the bridge, using their hazards to signal that maybe they're going a little bit slower. They're turning on those hazards, which is pretty common whenever we see storms or heavy rain, that people turn on their hazards to show that, hey, we're going a little bit slower, maybe stopping suddenly. It looks like we've got another car doing the exact same thing. Definitely some ponding on the roadways. As we see these cars come by, you can see the road spray behind them. Excuse me. But and tons of lightning. Yeah, some really good lightning here. One car looks like it's taken to the shoulder of the road, potentially stalled out, maybe just trying to wait out the storm. Lots of road spray on the road, so flooding is definitely possible here. So again, this is Memphis. We can kind of go farther to the south here, and then I can show you. Looks like traffic is slowing down on some of these roadways. I can show you the radar here in just a few minutes. We can go back to what we're seeing on the radar. Really, really blurry here. And you can see, actually, even though this shot is really blurry, you can still get a lot of information from this. Do you see how either the power lines are bouncing up and down, or maybe even the camera itself is doing that movement, bouncing up and down? That indicates that we've probably got some high wind in this area, enough to shake the power lines or enough to shake the camera. And it's really showing us that we have some pretty good wind speeds, as well as that high rainfall rate, and that potential or inevitable flooding. Looks like we've got some cameras out. I wonder if we're seeing some power outages in this area as well. Here's the thing, I have a link for that. So let's go to our power outage map. Power looks good in this area. Here, let me drag this over and show you. Power looks good, other than in Montgomery, Tennessee. It does look like you've got some people out here. Customers out about 1,200, not terribly impressive there. Michael asking, what counties in Tennessee are at the highest risk for flooding and tornadoes? All right, let's pull up our radar again, and I can show you that. Let's actually go to this radar. This is what I want to see here. There's that large hail. Okay, so Michael, I'll get to your question here in just a few minutes, but look at just to the north of Memphis. We finally had that report come in of golf ball sized hail reported, 1.75 inches from an amateur radio storm spotter. So basically what they do is they have these ham radios, and they are trained to report different types of characteristics of the storm or things that the storm is producing, including large hail, high wind, tornadoes, flooding, you name it. They are trained to report this. And that's exactly what happened here is we have a golf ball sized hail reported in Richards Landing Road. So very similar to what I said earlier. This is in Tipton County in Tennessee. That was right around, I think they said earlier, 6:23. Now, Richard asked earlier, what county is at the biggest risk for flooding and for tornadoes? We actually do have one tornado warning right now, highlighted here in purple. This is for East Central Lauderdale and North Central Haywood counties. And let me look on, I've got another product down here that I can look at and get you a little bit more information about this tornado warning. It's radar indicated, which means that we haven't seen it on the ground yet. However, if we can switch over to this radar, maybe we can see, oops, there we go. Maybe we can see a little bit more information about this storm. Okay, from what I'm seeing in this radar is we've got a little bit of rotation, so some sort of organization here. These tornadoes are going to be very difficult to spot, especially this far out, because let me show you, here's the radar down here. We're looking all the way up here, and so we are looking at high up into the storm. So if this is the surface and then the storm goes all the way up here, we're looking pretty high up into the storm. So we don't know what's going on at the surface unless we have cameras, which we check the ODOT cameras. We don't have any cameras over here, or unless we have storm spotters over there giving us ground truth, giving us what they're seeing on the ground. So it's really difficult to say, is this a tornado? It makes sense why the National Weather Service warned this storm, because we are seeing some rotation here. It's not gate to gate. I'm not terribly impressed with the velocity here and the wind direction. But I am a little bit more impressed with our what we call normalized rotation, which is right here highlighted in blue and green, and that is a little bit more impressive to me. So I can understand why the National Weather Service warned this storm, tornado warned this storm. However, can we confirm that it's on the ground? No, we cannot at this point. We'll have to see if we can get any more information from the National Weather Service on this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for some hail reports here. If you guys have any questions during this time, let me know and I can answer your questions here in just a minute. After I'm done looking for hail reports or hail pictures online, I'm going to look at, I'm reading your questions here. Some saying the microphone is too low. You know, my levels over here look good. I'm hoping that you can maybe turn up your phone or your TV or your computer, wherever you're watching this from, but my levels over here look pretty good. It's the highest it can get, so this is what you get here. Michael is saying, historically, that I-40 corridor in West Tennessee is higher risk. Jackson has been hit many times. So it looks like we could see maybe some stronger storms as we get into Jackson. We have a very similar line, similar boundary line here in Oklahoma, the Turner Turnpike. It looks like things just kind of are split in between that highway. Why? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. These highways were created back whenever these weather patterns didn't exist. Um, I don't know why, but that's really interesting. This I-40 corridor, he's saying, is historically in West Tennessee is higher risk. Jackson has been hit many times. That's what he's saying here. Jeremy asking, when will this show on my Hail Trace app? So I would give it just a minute because we should be we should be getting that to you very, very soon. I know that we have our meteorologist mapping right now. We have Haley, Xander, Joey. I assume maybe Steve is also helping map right now. So we at minimum have 4 meteorologists on these storms right now, mapping it. I'm here also doing live coverage. I know that we've got another meteorologist, Ben. He is also watching these storms as we speak. So we have a lot of eyes on this storm. They are currently mapping those storms. When it will show on the app, I'm not quite sure, but I do know that they are currently mapping these storms. These are great questions. I love the questions. I love the conversation that we have here. I'm looking for hail reports. If you guys see any hail reports on social media today, make sure that you tag us in those reports. We would love to see those hail pictures, and then we would love to share those pictures with you all as well. So make sure that you're tagging us in that. And if you want to share this live stream with anyone, you can also tag them in this live stream so that they know where to watch and to get their most up-to-date information. While we do the entire country, while we are forecasting and showing you live radar for the entire country, we really do specialize in hail. We also talk about high wind and tornadoes as well, but that is what we specialize in. And I'm not seeing any storm reports or any photo reports on social media here. I'm going to look at one more thing and then maybe we'll move on. I can show you some graphics and what we're expecting for the rest of the night. Not just now, but we can take a look at what we're expecting an hour from now, 2 hours from now, 12 hours from now. These storms are expected to go into the overnight hours, so we could have a very busy night ahead of us. Okay, I am seeing some pictures now. I'm going to show you my screen and we'll show you some pictures that we're seeing. These hailstones look like they are on the smaller side, but as I mentioned earlier, just because we see some small hail in a storm doesn't mean we could also not see, doesn't mean we can't also see larger hail. You know, these storms will pulse up and they'll pulse down, and we'll see storms produce larger hail in some areas and smaller in others. And that's exactly why you need meteorologists to take a look at these storms, because they can tell you where we're seeing that larger hail and whenever that hailstone is maybe a little bit smaller that's falling out of those storms. Okay, let's show you my screen here. This is off of Twitter. We've got hail in Drummond's, Tennessee. So that is in the far western side of the state, very close to the state line going into Arkansas. Yes, going into Arkansas. So here we go. Here's hail in Drummond's. Got a good bit of it. Looks like little Easter eggs out there. Actually, that was from last year. So this is the only picture that we have found so far about the hail in Drummond's, and it looks like it's on the smaller side, not gonna lie. Checking your power outages here, it looks like we could see a little little bit of power outage. Not a ton. 3,000 people losing power here in Western Tennessee. Other than that, not a ton, which is great news. And we can take a look at your traffic maps. Let's see if we have any major traffic issues out there right now. Lots of people with their hazards on here from your Tennessee Department of Transportation cameras. It looks like the rain is still coming down really heavy. Ooh, look at all that splashing. Look at the bottom of your screen right here. Watch as these cars come out of the, oh, some really big lightning as well. Watch as these cars come out from under the bridge and they splash all of this water. So there's definitely some ponding on the roadways. It's not slowing anyone down. It looks like people are still keeping up speed on the highway, but hopefully it's deterred people from going out. It does look like we have less traffic here now than what we saw earlier. But still, if you look at these colors on the traffic map here, not a lot of green on your main highways. You've got lots of orange, so maybe it is slowing people down a little bit. Red in downtown Memphis, so people may be at a standstill there or maybe not going out, hopefully at all during this. Let's take a look at some of our other cameras. Lots of hazards on here. Oftentimes, people are more prone to turning their hazards on if they have low visibility. So this rain could be coming down so quickly that they have very low visibility and they can't see what's going on too far in front of them. Very slow moving here across I-40 at Warford. It's a blurry shot, but you can see that they are moving much slower than what we were seeing some of those cars move earlier. Let's go a little bit farther to the east. Still lots of lightning with this. This is probably a very loud storm as well, not only from the heavy rain and the high wind, but also from the thunder and the lightning. You can really see the rain coming down here. Alrighty, let's go back to the maps. Let's actually go down to Arkansas. We have a tornado warned storm in Arkansas. This is in Monticello. Collins, I can say that word. A few of these words on here may be hard to pronounce. I don't know the correct pronunciation. Alrighty, here's what the National Weather Service is saying. They're saying that this tornado warning is in effect until 7:15, so we still have 14 more minutes left on this warning. They say a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Liddell, or 9 miles southeast of Monticello, moving northeast at 55 miles an hour, pretty decent speed. It's really fast. Think about this. Oftentimes on the highway, you're going what? About 60, 65 miles an hour, depending on the highway. Maybe you're getting up to 70. Now it's raining. Your car slows down a little bit. You have to slow down because it's raining. Now you have a tornado that's moving about the same speed as you. You cannot outrun that thing. It is moving at 55 miles an hour. So that's a really good indication or a really good visual of how fast this tornado is, or this potential tornado, this supercell thunderstorm, is moving right now. The National Weather Service says flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. We had this conversation earlier. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. They actually just extended this tornado warning, issuing another one going up near, you're going to have to forgive me for my pronunciation here, Dumas. Watson, Rower, and Snow Lake. So this hugs the Arkansas, Tennessee state line here. This severe thunderstorm warning goes until, tornado warning goes until 7:45. A very similar wording here, except for the storm is moving even faster, northeast at 60 miles an hour. The National Weather Service is saying that this is actually not from the tornado warned storm down here. This is a second potential tornado. And I'm going to actually pull up my radar to look a little bit deeper down into this storm, but give me just a minute to do that switch over here. Alrighty, let's switch over to this camera view, or radar view. And look at the tornado warnings. Hang on one second. Okay, here's what we're looking at here. So on the top left-hand corner of your screen, there's your reflectivity. You go over here, that is your velocity, storm relative velocity. We have your correlation coefficient to see any debris lofted into the air. And then right here is your normalized rotation. Not terribly impressed with the rotation, but maybe this is what we're looking for. Where the red square is, you can see that we are seeing a little bit of rotation here. Not too terribly tight, but it does look like we're seeing, what we're watching for here, for anyone that doesn't know, is we're looking at a mix of green and reds. Whenever we see those greens and reds touching, that's exactly where we are watching for a potential tornado. Now, what I'm seeing from this, and it's really difficult to tell because we're so far away from this, from the radar, it's really difficult to tell what's actually happening at the surface. But what I'm seeing here is that whatever is happening is going to be rain wrapped. Rotation, maybe a tornado, it's going to be rain wrapped and it's going to be very difficult to see. So we're watching for, we would hope to see the tornado. However, I don't think that we would. If we potentially had a camera on this storm, let's say, this would be completely wrapped in rain that we wouldn't see this thing coming. You can even see it on radar how messy this is. It's really difficult to see a tornado signature here at all. It's very, very messy. So the National Weather Service has warned this entire area because conditions are favorable for a tornado to spin up. Spin up tornado does not mean that it's a weak tornado. It means that it happens fast. You have very little reaction time. It looks like we are also seeing some increasing wind speeds here. This caught my eye right here. Anytime that we see some of those brighter colors, that means that the wind speed is increasing. So right here, we're probably looking at least about 60 mile per hour wind speed right here. Maybe a little bit less in some places, but yeah, we're getting up to 45 knots. Pretty consistently. And again, that goes until 7:45, so we have 37 minutes remaining on this tornado warning. Let's go farther down to the south. You can see there's another tornado warning coming out of Louisiana and going into Mississippi. So let's take a look at that, and then we'll go back up to the north and we'll look at Tennessee here in just a few minutes. Alrighty, what's the best radar to look at for this one? Probably this radar in Mississippi. Wait for it to load. Let me switch over my radars here so that you can see what I'm seeing. This is Jackson, Mississippi. There's your tornado warning highlighted here in red. It's moving to the northeast at 55 miles an hour, and you could also have some hail with this. To the size of a quarter. Let me read what the National Weather Service is saying and let you know if there's anything interesting with this. The wording here in the message is very similar to what we saw earlier. So once again, move to the interior room of your house. Don't play any games with these spin up tornadoes. Don't play any games with these storms, because even if you don't have a tornado here, you are still getting some really strong wind. Here we go. This is probably the strongest wind gust that you have right now. 57 knots, 58 knots. That's the highest that I'm seeing right here. Some pretty strong winds, stronger than what we saw earlier. So that is definitely something that you do not want to be out in. You go a little bit farther to the west here and you're getting a severe thunderstorm warning just in the central northern side of Louisiana, and this severe thunderstorm warning is loading. It's coming into Monroe, Louisiana. 60 mile per hour wind speed, and small hail is possible with this as well. Very similar down in Jenna. That's this severe thunderstorm warning right here. Now let me take you back up to the north. Okay, we're going to switch back over here, and I'm going to take you up to the north and show you these tornado warnings in Tennessee. We have another report of golf ball sized hail. This reported from law enforcement in Tennessee. Golf ball sized hail, 1.75 inches of hail here. Whew. That is a good sized hailstone, especially for February. Again, it's relative. If we were seeing this in May, we may not be as impressed with this, but seeing it this early in the season is quite impressive. Let's switch over to our other radars. What are we looking at here? Probably Memphis, Tennessee radar. I'll switch it over for you. Memphis, Tennessee. There you go. We have a better radar that we could be looking at. We've got this one up in Paducah. We'll look at both, okay? So while data loads into our Paducah radar right now, I'll show you what we're seeing from the Memphis radar. So this is near Trenton, Tennessee, right? There's Tennessee right there. Center western side of the state. Humboldt, Milan, you guys are going to have to excuse my pronunciation here. And this is a tornado warned storm. We are getting some indication of rotation here. Okay, this is normalized rotation down here. It's a pretty good indication to see if anything is rotating at the ground. This is a pretty good signature right here in Humboldt. Now let's switch over to our other radar from Paducah. Maybe we can get, okay, I am seeing a better view from our Paducah radar. Okay, here you go. So we're going to switch over here. This is the Paducah radar that is up here. And to the north, we're still quite a ways out from this storm, but I like what we're seeing here in terms of just a better view, okay? Some really strong wind here. Some really strong wind. This radar is indicating better rotation, better organization. So right here in Bradford, this is what we're watching for. Some pretty decent hail signatures with this as well. Let me show you. Oh yeah, some great hail signature. Okay, let me back this up and show you. We can't go back because I haven't had the radar up. But we were probably seeing this back here whenever this was producing golf ball sized hail. This is probably still producing some pretty decent hail size right here, potentially ping pong golf ball sized hail going into Greenfield and Bradford right now in Tennessee. I'm seeing some messages in the chat. Let's talk about some of these questions that we're getting right here. One question, how high is the risk near Medina, Tennessee? Is the tornado warning? Just moved here from Louisiana and we get super scared. Okay, Gladys, let's see. Medina, Tennessee, just to the north of Jackson. So you're in the tornado warning right now. You're just outside of the tornado warning, okay? So you need to make sure that you are at the innermost room of your house. Even though you're not technically in the warning, you probably still need to be taking your precautions. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Again, this is for Medina, Tennessee, and I hope that I'm saying that correctly. And Gladys, this may take a little bit to get through because these storms are still near Humboldt. They're moving to the north and east, but you still have some storms behind, so you may get hit by these storms up down by Brownsville or maybe even further down to the south because they're moving. I wish I had a cursor or something to draw with here, but they're moving like this. They're moving to the north and east. So by the time they get into a place like Medina, you're maybe watching for these storms down here, maybe not these storms right up here. Another question about how high is the risk in Memphis, Tennessee. So down in Memphis, the worst is just about over, okay? These storms down in Memphis, and actually here, let me switch out my radar view here. This is your Memphis radar. Here we go. Yeah, the strongest storms are already to the east of Memphis. So what we're watching for here is some lingering rain. You're probably still going to have flooding on the roadways. So I would take still some precaution if you're getting out on the roadways here. But other than that, the worst, the highest wind is over. I would still give it time for flooding to subside because I bet there are still puddles on the roadways, ponding on the roadways. Some people telling me Monticello is how you say that town out in Arkansas. Some questions about Greenfield, Tennessee. Let's see if we can find Greenfield, Tennessee. Also just to the north of Jackson. So let me switch over to my other radar here. You guys know how it goes. It takes just a minute to make that switch. Now we're looking at the Paducah radar. And the question was for Greenfield, Tennessee. There it is. Greenfield, Tennessee is in a tornado warned storm right now, or a tornado warning right now. This storm, it looks like, has some pretty decent rotation with it. Absolutely, yeah, some really good rotation right here. Not a ton of hail is looking very promising, but some really good rotation coming out of Greenfield, Tennessee right now. So you should, and it looks like you probably, if you're already watching this, you should be making sure that you are in your safe space right now. Now this is basically past Greenfield, so if you're in Greenfield proper, you're probably good. The worst is past. However, if you're still on the east side of the city, I would make sure that you're still in your safe space until all of this passes. If you're in McKenzie right now, Gleason, you definitely need to be in your safe space. Looking a little bit farther out, and I saw a question about this earlier, Big Sandy, you also need to be in your safe space. This isn't to you yet. You're getting some light rain right now, maybe some moderate rain, but the worst is still behind you. It's still to come, okay? So we are talking about a potential tornado. Here is what I'm looking at right here, where that green triangle is. That will be tracking to the north and east, and Big Sandy, Henry, McKenzie are in the path of that. So we're going to keep an eye on this storm right here because I know that we have some people watching in the Big Sandy area. Alt account Prism says that they're watching from Big Sandy. And those are the questions that I'm seeing right now for this area. We have another question about Jackson, Tennessee. So we'll go a little bit farther down to the south. Now you still have a while until the rain gets to you in Jackson. The question is it safe in Jackson? You know, I don't want you to be scared. I want you to be prepared, okay? So be prepared, not scared. Since you have a little bit of time before that rain and those storms get to you, make sure that you are prepared to go into your safe spot if needed. You may not need to, but if needed, make sure that you're prepared, okay? These storms, as you can see, are tracking to the north and east, so we're probably looking at something down here to reach Jackson here within an hour, maybe here within the hour. So that's what we're watching for right now in Jackson. You're not going to get these storms right here. You're probably going to get these storms that are down there. So make sure that you're prepared. You have a little bit of time to make sure that you have all of your all the things that you want to shelter with if you are in Jackson right now. And I'm not saying that you will be sheltering. I'm saying that it's, since the storms are still behind you, we don't know yet. Another person saying, I'm in Jackson too. Well, thank you for watching today. One question about Patty's, Tennessee. Patty's, Tennessee. Okay, I'm not quite sure. Is that spelled correctly? Because I'm looking at Patty's, Tennessee, and I'm not finding it. It's not popping up for me. So let me know if you can kind of give me a little bit more, if you can narrow down where you are. Patty's, Tennessee. Another asking about Paris. Yeah, we were talking about Paris just a few minutes ago. Make sure that you're in your safe space in Paris because it does look like you're in a tornado warning right now. We actually have another tornado warned storm. This is just a line of storms here that are tornado warned anywhere from Humboldt all the way up to Murray. It looks like it's a really good signature for a potential tornado right here. Yeah, I'm quite impressed by this one. That's near New Concord or Hazel by Midway, just to the south of this area. I'm really hoping that not a ton of people live in this area because I'm quite impressed by this tornado warning. Let's see what the National Weather Service has to say about this. We haven't checked in with them in a while. So they are also concerned about this area right here, okay? So this will be in the far northern side of Tennessee. I zoomed out so that you can get a pretty good look or a pretty good idea of where we're at here. So we're not so zoomed down that you can't figure it out. It looks like Yeah, it's in the far northern side of Tennessee. The National Weather Service here, if this will load, saying that they're not only concerned about the tornado warning in this area, but also the flooding in this area as well. We use the word considerable whenever they are talking about flooding. So it looks like you're going to have ponding or flooding on the roadways. That's going to create for a dangerous situation if you're trying to get on the roads right now. They're saying a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 7 miles to the southeast of Murray, moving to the northeast at 45 miles an hour. Radar is showing strong rotation. That's exactly what I saw from this as well. I'm quite impressed by this right here. This is called normalized rotation, where we are seeing some darker colors. Those reds are starting to mix in, which we haven't seen, I think, at all tonight. And this is exactly what we're watching for right here. We're really zooming down here. Just to the east of Hazel. Reading what the National Weather Service is saying. This is what we're watching for right here. So this is right on the county line. And I wonder if we could get what county this is. Weakley County? Callaway County. I think that's correct here. So this is what we're watching for right here. I'll zoom out just a little bit so that you can see where we're at. This is to the south of Murray. Not a ton of towns as we look to the east here. New Concord, you definitely need to be in your safe space in New Concord. And this is something that we've been talking about all night, is that these storms, they like to pulse up and down, and these tornadoes can spin up so quickly, which is why if you are in a warning, you need to make sure that you are in your safe space, because even if maybe we don't have a tornado on the ground right now, that could change very soon. Now, we had some people in here earlier asking about Big Sandy. If you are in McKenzie, just to the west of Big Sandy, make sure that you are also in your safe space. The National Weather Service is saying here, and I'm actually a little bit more impressed with this rotation signature now than what I saw earlier. The National Weather Service saying, take cover now. Make sure that you move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Avoid windows, avoid mobile homes, and avoid being in a vehicle. You want the most interior room of your house here in McKenzie. And this does look a little less impressive than what we saw earlier. See, this is pretty impressive right here. This not as much. Again, this is going into McKenzie right now. Oh. One person saying they don't have any wind here in Jackson. It's the calm before the storm. Yeah, that's definitely possible, is that it's the calm before the storm, because we still have storms farther back to the west that you'll get here pretty soon. One question about West Memphis. So let me switch over my camera to West Memphis, and then we'll go back to that tornado warned storm here in just a minute. There you go. There's Memphis. West Memphis, I think that you're in the clear. You may still have some light rain out there, but it looks like the strongest storms are now to the east of you. The strongest storms are past you. So West Memphis, I'm not as concerned about as I am some of these other cities. West Memphis, you are in the clear now, other than that flooding risk, okay? It still is most likely wet on the roadways. You still probably have some, actually, I'm not going to say probably, you do. We know that you have rain on the roads right now. We know that you have ponding on the roads right now. We saw it. People were slowing down on the highway. People are probably still flashing their hazards as they're on the highway right now, because you have standing water on the roads, which still makes it very dangerous, even though the storm itself is not as impressive as it was earlier. So that's for West Memphis. Great question. That's from Wazy on YouTube. Going back up to Paducah now, a different radar here, because we had another question about Paris. So here's Paris right up here. What we're really watching for is this line of storms right here. And while I'm more interested with this area right here as of now, that doesn't mean that something can't spin up farther to the north. So Paris, I would make sure that you are also in your safe space right now, because it does look like we have some pretty impressive rotation right here. And we don't have any confirmation of what's happening on the ground, but that would be what I would definitely be in my safe space, because you are in a tornado warned storm right now. Let's take a look and see if we can see anything, any reports of anything on social media. Just kind of reading and seeing if there's anything on social media right now. Okay, so here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing some pretty tight rotation here. So that's what we need for a tornado. So this would be in McKenzie. And I was talking about Paris earlier, how you can get some of these spin ups very, very quickly. Paris, it does look like we're seeing a little bit more rotation up near Como as well. So what I would do is I would make sure that if you are any of these cities, McKenzie, Como, Henry, Paris, and Mansfield, I would make sure that you are in your safe space right now, because we are seeing some pretty strong wind speeds, if not a tornado, a possible tornado here. So even if we don't have a tornado, you're getting some really strong wind from this. So I would be in your safe space if I were you. That's going to be very, very important. What other questions do we have? We have a lot of questions here. Jeremy asks about the hail. Jeremy, I don't know if you were on here earlier. I kind of think I saw your name on here earlier, but I can show you where we've seen hail reports so far. So we saw a golf ball sized hail report just to the north of Trenton, Tennessee. I think this is in Dyer, Tennessee. Someone saying that their mom is in Dyer right now. Golf ball sized hail reported by law enforcement. And then the other golf ball sized hail was back here, closer to the state line, the Tennessee and Arkansas state line. This was reported in Richards Landing. So that's where we've seen the largest hail tonight. These are not the only places that we've seen hail, but these are the reports that we've seen. And it's been pretty good sized hail. You know, at first I thought, I don't think that we're going to get hail that large. The ingredients just didn't seem very promising, but the weather can surprise you. And it did. Now, going forward here, here's what we have right now. We have two tornado warnings right now. Both in northern Tennessee. There's one right here near New Concord. And then another that's going into Paris right now. I know we have a few people on here that are in Paris and in Big Sandy. So Paris right now, it's probably starting to get loud. You probably have that high wind out your window, and you probably hear the strike of lightning and the rumble of thunder. So make sure that you're in your safe spot. Make sure that you still have, let's see, about 15 more minutes for this for this tornado warning. About 15 more minutes at least to be in that safe spot right now. Going down to the south here, so we are hugging the Mississippi-Arkansas state line and the Mississippi-Louisiana state line. As we go down to the south here, We are seeing, I think, some really strong wind. We got a 59-mile-per-hour wind gust at the airport here. What is this? It's in Metcalf. Metcalf. Again, gotta be patient with my pronunciation here. I don't know all of the towns' pronunciations. But this severe thunderstorm warning is for 60-mile-per-hour wind speed and quarter-sized hail. Going farther down to the south, you saw it earlier, there's a tornado warning going into Rolling Fork right now. Now, Rolling Fork is historically, has had some history with strong tornadoes. So I would imagine that this probably is a little close to home for them to once again be in a tornado warning. Let me get a little more information about these storms in Rolling Fork right now. So the storm itself is still a little bit farther to the west near Fittler. However, Rolling Fork is included in the tornado warning. So the storm is headed your way. But it looks like we'll have to see what the storm does. We'll have to see if the National Weather Service gives us any more information on this. What other questions do we have here? Someone saying Paris, Tennessee. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Jennifer saying McKenzie, Tennessee, and the cops are saying to take cover. Yes, so that's definitely something, a shared sentiment that we have echoed tonight is that you should be taking cover if you're in a tornado warning. So I'm hoping that you did get to take cover. I'm hoping that you are safe now because those storms moving through McKenzie, Tennessee right now. However, if you look a little bit farther to the east, the strongest has now passed by McKenzie. I would still stay in that cover. You need to stay in the most innermost room of your house if you can, at least for the next about 15 minutes at least, because while the worst part of the storm could be to the east of you, I am still watching for maybe some really high wind and maybe some hail farther back to the west that's headed towards you. So you may get a little bit of a break in the rain. Don't leave. Stay in the most innermost room of your house until this burst of rain is gone. So there's where it's moving to. You can see that it's moving towards y'all. Right here, it's going right in your direction as we go forward on this radar loop here. It's headed right towards McKenzie. What other questions do we have? I think I'm a little behind on my questions. McKenzie, Tennessee, cops telling me to take cover. We're once again bringing up Big Sandy. One person saying, I'm in Big Sandy and I don't know if it's going to hit. So it's not there yet. However, you're still in a tornado warning. So please make sure that you are taking cover. Even if you don't know it's going to hit, better safe than sorry, right? We have a question about Clarksville. I see a question on the chat about Clarksville here. So actually, let me switch my radar view here for Clarksville, because if I don't do it now, I'm going to have to do it later. So this is a different radar view, and while we are letting that load in, that data will load in just a minute. I'll give you a little update. So Clarksville, there is no rain right now. However, you are in a flood watch. So any rain that comes down will come down very, very quick. Try to get off the roads if you can. Try to stay inside the innermost room of your house, because just to the west here, you do have a tornado warned storm. I don't think it'll hit you, but you also have these storms down near Paris, and I think that will be what you need to watch for because these will come up your way, and we'll see what type of state they're in by the time they get your way. Right now, we're seeing some rotation with these storms coming into Paris right now, but they will eventually make their way to Clarksville, and that's what you need to be watching for is these storms down here. But you have no rain right now, so you still have some time to prepare. Move the car into the garage, do whatever you need to do to prepare for those storms to hit. You still have a little bit of time, but go ahead and take those precautions now. What other questions do we have? Gail says she's lucky. She feels lucky that she's in Arizona right now. Another question about Greenfield. Let me see. So Greenfield, you are still in a severe thunderstorm warning. While I think the worst is past you, you still are getting rain right now. So I would still chill inside for a bit. Don't go outside yet. If you do have to drive at all tonight, try to do it later on so that all of this flooding can subside because you still are getting some sort of rain right now, whether that be light or moderate rain. You're still in a flood watch. And so you've got ponding on the roadways, you've got standing water on the roadways. That makes it really dangerous. If you do have to go outside tonight, make sure that you are taking it slow on the roads. You know the drill here. Turn around, don't drown. When in doubt, take another route. Don't get into water that you can't see the bottom of. And that's for Greenfield. And I don't think my radar switched over. Let me switch over my radar so that you can see Greenfield. There you go. So there's Greenfield. There's the worst of the storms that you probably have already seen come past you. They're loud, they're noisy, they've got strong wind. You've got some lightning with this as well. Lots of lightning with this. That's just to the east of Greenfield. Now you still have some rain back to the west of you, so that's still coming in. But the worst is past you already. Okay, let's see. What are our questions? We've got lots of questions coming in right now. I like this. Yeah, in Jackson, you're okay right now, but you got to be ready. People saying it's hitting Paris right now. Now it's not a tornado. Or it could be. Okay, I take that back. There's a potential that this could be a tornado. However, we have no confirmation of that as of now. The National Weather Service is capable of producing a tornado, but we don't have any confirmation, and it's better safe than sorry. What we do know right now is we have some tight rotation with this. So the likelihood that we do have tornado is possible, okay? So we have some tight rotation. That's what we see right here, just to the south of Paris, coming into Paris right now, especially on the southern side of the city. Here's your normalized rotation. It's good that we don't see a ton of blue down here in this box right here, your bottom left-hand corner of the screen, because if we saw any blue right here, that means that we would have debris flying in the air. We're not seeing it, so that's a good thing. We still have some rotation, so I'm watching this right here for a potential tornado. So that's the most concerning area that I'm watching right now. Someone saying Jacksonville, Florida, getting bad weather tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow these storms, this big long line of storms right now will be going through Florida tomorrow. This will be an overnight event, so we still have a few hours ahead of us, many hours ahead of us. So some people asking about going chasing with our CEO. So you guys, our CEO, he has a really cool chasing truck. We call it the Hail Stalker. He goes and gets inside these storms. He's looking for hail, and his truck is so cool. It was actually in the movie Twisters. He was an extra in the movie, the brand new movie that just came out this year, Twisters. So yeah, you guys have definitely got to check that out on our social media. We've interviewed him several times about his experience in the movie, and it's pretty impressive that he got to be behind the scenes with people like Glenn Powell and Daisy Edgar Jones. He has some really cool stories from that. Reading through some of your questions here. Someone said, I'm from Camden, the tornado sirens keep coming off. So what they're probably doing is they're probably running the sirens. They will take a break and then they'll run them again. So even though they stop for maybe a minute or two, even if they stop for a minute or two and they come back on, make sure that you stay in your safe spot. Yeah, they're probably going on and off. And those are actually, some of them are automated, some of them it's a human that will turn those on and off. So you have to be patient sometimes with human errors. Now, this is not confirmed, but we are getting some comments in the chat about a tornado touching down in Pure, Tennessee, and I saw that here earlier. It was back to the west. And I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm going to keep our radar on Paris right now because I know we have several people from Big Sandy and Paris watching. So I want to make sure that you guys know where the storms are. It's still coming through Paris. Make sure that you're still in your safe spot. Please don't leave that until the worst is past you. And we still have, even though we've got your really, really strong storms right here, strong wind speeds, and some rotation right here on the east side of the city, we still have rain farther back to the west that will come up to Paris once again. So continue to stay in that safe spot, at least for the next 15 minutes. You may be there for a little bit because this is what we like to call training. If you look farther back to the south and west, you're going to get this storm in Paris. You may get this one as well eventually. Maybe it'll move off to the east. Maybe it'll go this way. But either way, you're going to get some really good rain out of this. This is going to be really, really difficult to drive in. So I really hope that no one is on the roads right now. Someone saying Humboldt is really loud right now. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. These storms are going to be loud. They're going to have some really strong wind, so that may be one of the louder things that you hear, but also the strike of lightning, the rumble of thunder, that's also going to be very, very loud. Kylie saying a tornado did touch down in Paris. I don't have any confirmation that there's a tornado on the ground. However, I would not be surprised. It's definitely possible because look at this really good rotation right here. I would expect right about here, right where that red square is, that's where I'm watching for a potential tornado. Right there. So make sure you stay inside of the innermost room of your house. Stay there for now. And it looks like you guys give me 1 minute here. We're going to keep our radar on Paris right now. But Big Sandy, now while this is going to go to the north of you, okay, so this is tracking like up here. This is going to go to the north of Big Sandy. If you look farther down to the south, you've got this little area that may hit you. So make sure that you are still in your safe space because this is what I'm watching for to track over to Big Sandy. So we still have a little bit until we're done with at least this area of Tennessee. area that may hit you. Alrighty, you guys. You guys, YouTube does this really cool thing where if you are spamming a chat, I can, and these are YouTube's words, not mine, I can put them in timeout for a certain amount of time. So I know a lot of you have been seeing in the chat on YouTube that one account in particular has been, and this is y'all's words, spamming the chat. Kylie 3ATS said we got someone spamming the chat, and they are now put in timeout for 30 minutes. So y'all, let's be adults here. What other questions do we have? Big Thunder in Jackson. I actually do want to go look at Jackson. I think that we have some ODOT cameras, excuse me, TDOT cameras in Jackson. So let's actually get some live looks from what we're seeing in Jackson right now. Here we go. Okay, so you guys get to see what I can see right here. This is Christmasville Road on the north side of Jackson. Let's see what we're seeing. I'm not seeing any rain in this area. But it's incoming. It's coming in. It's on the east, excuse me, on the west side of Jackson right now. So probably like over here near Huntersville, that's where all of the rain is right now. So all of these people that are on the roadway probably need to get home because they're about to just get tons of rain dumped on them and maybe a little bit of hail. We got also some reports in the chat that it could be hailing in Jackson. And again, we're talking about Jackson, not Jacksonville. Still reading some of your comments, getting through some of them. I know that I'm a little bit behind on the comments right now. Someone says, it's pouring rain here. The hail just stopped in Jackson. Well, and if you know how large that hail was, we would love that report. If it's safe to go out and take pictures, you can also send us pictures of your hail reports. We specialize in hail here at Hail Trace. So if it's safe, do not go outside unless it is safe. And it looks like we are getting a tornado warning. Let's see, where is this at? Let me switch over from our live cameras. So here's your live camera in Jackson right now. Again, this one, it's not raining here yet, but let's switch over. Let's see, what are we looking at here? We have a tornado warning for Jackson. So make sure that you are in the innermost room of your house. This is what I said earlier, where it didn't look impressive earlier. It can always change very quickly. So tornado warning for Jackson. Let's see what the National Weather Service has to say. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Mercer or 10 miles southwest of Jackson, moving to the northeast at 50 miles an hour. The biggest hazards here are tornado and quarter-sized hail, so we could get some hail with this in Jackson as well. It's radar indicated, so we don't have any ground truth to this. We are getting some reports that the sirens are going off in Jackson. That's good because we definitely need to make sure that we are taking cover in this area. Let's go back to the radar and see where the most impressive places to see a potential tornado are. Now here is your normalized rotation. This is really what I'm keeping an eye on for the potential for spotting tornado signatures. Jackson, Oakfield, and I know that we had someone on here from Medina earlier. I'm trying to pronounce that as best as I can. That's where I'm seeing the best rotation, maybe even into Cedar Grove. So that's where I'm really watching for a tornado right now. However, if you look farther back to the south and west, this is why the National Weather Service has warned this entire thing. If you go into places like Mercer, Whiteville, you guys are going to have to help me with this one, Malsus, it looks like we still have some rotation just as we follow this line down to the south and west, which is why the National Weather Service has warned this entire area. Now, these storms should be coming into where we have TDOT cameras. And let me go back actually to the cameras because I would love to see if we are seeing anything on our cameras right now. Still, it looks pretty quiet, but it does look like we've gotten our first few raindrops now in the northern side of Jackson. So here's Jackson. Here's what we're looking at right now. Okay, now do you guys see this right here? You can see how windy it is here because you can see the wind pushing this rain across the roadway here. Oh, did you see that strong lightning? We just had a flash of lightning there. I'm sure it was so loud for people in Jackson right now. Holy moly, that was really, really bright lightning. Let's stay on this right here. We're going to stay on this for just a minute here. This is where we're going to stay. We're going to watch the lightning. We're going to watch the rain and the strong wind come through. And there's lightning again. We have a question. I'm going to stay right here. We have a question about Clarendon, Arkansas. Clarendon, Arkansas. We do have a tornado warning in Arkansas right now. However, it's not by Clarendon. It looks like, from what I can tell just off the bat here, that the worst has already passed Clarendon, Arkansas. Yes. Okay, so the worst has already passed. It's probably still raining there. However, you're not going to get those strong, severe storms like what we're getting in Jackson right now. For Clarendon, Arkansas. I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm trying my best here. Wow, it looks like some people right here have taken shelter to the side of the road. They've said that either it's the visibility on the roadway is not good enough to drive. You know, it could be raining so hard that you can't even see what's in front of you. So they've decided to go over here on the shoulder of the road. Maybe they're getting brave enough now to get back on the road. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So they took shelter on the side of the road for just a minute. Let's go over to our other camera here. This camera is no longer feeding. Oh, maybe it is. It is feeding data back to us. People have started to take it slower, definitely, on the roads here. These cars are definitely moving slower. Lots of people with their hazards on. Oftentimes, people are more likely to put their hazards on whenever they don't have good visibility in front of them. So that indicates to me that it's most likely raining so hard that it's hard to see the road in front of them or maybe the car in front of them. Uh, and we've got a lot of people with most people with their hazards on right now. Oh. Reading about the tornado warning here, I'll put some information on the side of the screen. So this tornado warning in Jackson, from what the National Weather Service is saying, that it's radar indicated. We have no ground truth of this, and we could also see quarter-sized hail, which I do think that we got reports earlier of some hail in Jackson. It was really, really loud. We also got that report earlier. Here's the impact from the National Weather Service. Flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will also occur. So make sure that you are at sheltering right now. You have to be in your shelter right now. You need to be in the innermost room of your house. Let's go back to the radar here. I'll get you a look at what we're seeing. I do want to mention, while we are watching this tornado warning in Jackson right now, I want to mention that we have had some more hail reports, and I know that a lot of people are on here for hail reports here. Union City, 1-inch size hail, so quarter-sized hail in downtown. It says downtown Paris, but this is in Union City. I think we talked about this one earlier. Dyer got golf ball sized hail. I really want to see reports from places like Greenfield or maybe Bradford. I want to see if this storm continued to produce golf ball sized hail as it tracked to the north and east. That's what I want to know. I want to see reports out of Greenfield. Less than the size of a quarter sized hail in nickel sized hail reported in Trenton and Milan. I'm not quite sure I'm saying that correctly. Now looking at Jackson, we can go back to some of our more specific radar views here. There we go. Michael P says, take cover in a ditch if no shelter. Now, I know that you're trying to help. However, I do want to discourage from taking cover in a ditch, especially on a night like tonight when you could have flooding. You will have flooding issues. You will have flooding issues in Jackson. Ditches are going to flood first. Ditches are going to pile up with water. Let's refrain from taking cover in a place like a ditch. That could be very dangerous. We actually had that situation here in Oklahoma where a family took cover in a ditch. They had heard that same thing during a tornado and they drowned. So let's be very, very careful about giving different types of advice like that, especially on a night like tonight whenever flooding is likely. It's imminent. Flooding is imminent. It's going to happen. Please try to be in a Alicia is asking, what if you don't have a basement or a shelter? That's okay. We don't have a basement or a shelter either. We go to the innermost room of our house. That's most likely a closet. That's most likely maybe a bathroom. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. A garage, not an option. Don't shelter in your garage. Try to shelter in maybe a closet, maybe a bathroom, maybe a utility room. That's going to help you to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That's what you want. So try to be on the first floor of a building. Now, I know that in Jackson, the storm is hitting right now. This is not going to help you all in Jackson. However, for anyone who is watching, who the storms have not hit yet, a very great idea, something that everyone needs to do if they live in an apartment complex or community style living. Make sure you know the neighbors below you. Make sure that you know someone on the first floor, because you want to go shelter with them whenever the time comes. You don't want to be on the third or the fourth floor of an apartment complex. Go down there, say hello. My name is so and so. We have storms tonight. Is it okay with you if we have a tornado warning, for me to come down and shelter with you all? They may say no, but it's always worth the try, because it's really important to be on the bottom floor of your building. So whether that's a home or an apartment complex, it's really important to know those neighbors. Kurt says Jackson seems like a target for chasers. It's an area, so whenever chasers go out on these storms, and it does look like that tornado warning has been lifted now, but whenever chasers go out on these storms, they watch for not only where the best rotation with these storms is, or maybe the strongest storm. They watch for those types of ingredients, but they also watch for really good roads. So yeah, those bigger cities are going to have better roads to drive on. They're going to have a better infrastructure to get a lot of people in and out in a very quick time. And so chasers will look for that, and they'll look for really good road conditions as well. They oftentimes don't want to be on the back roads, because that means that they could be stuck in mud. Maybe the road is closed for whatever reason. It's usually a lot slower on the back roads. So yeah, it makes sense that a lot of chasers are probably in Jackson right now. Okay. Michael, once again, saying a deep ditch is good to take cover from the winds. Please do not take shelter in ditches tonight. Please do not take shelters in ditches tonight. I know that you're trying to help. Please do not take shelters in ditches tonight, because it's raining. You're going to run that risk of flooding. Brian says, yeah. And Michael says, yeah, mattress over your head, keep your head covered, flashlight, water. Yeah. Brian says it's going to be one of those years where the first storm is in Jackson, isn't it? Now we just got a really good, really loud thunderstorm in Jackson. I don't know if there's a tornado with this. However, it was tornado warned. Kurt says road networks are a big thing chasing down south. Yeah. In Oklahoma and in Kansas, it's mainly all a grid. So it's really, really easy to chase here. It's also really flat here. However, I would not encourage chasing unless you have taken some sort of storm spotter class, or unless you're a meteorologist. You don't have to be a meteorologist to go out there, but you can take storm spotter classes through the National Weather Service. They are free. Just to Google storm spotter and National Weather Service. A lot of them are online. So even if you live in Tennessee, you could take a storm spotter class from Oklahoma and get a lot of information out of it. Yeah, and then you've got the trees. If you go chase down in the southeast, you've got a lot of trees and hills, and it's really hard to see everything down in the southeast. Alrighty, I know that we have a lot of people in Big Sandy that are watching right now. So the storms are finally coming over here. We've been talking about Big Sandy for almost an hour now, and I told you that you had time. You had time to prepare. I hope that you did prepare. Be scared, be prepared, not scared. I hope that you prepared, and I hope that you brought your car into the garage, and I hope that you got all of your belongings that you need for a tornado shelter, because you are in a tornado warning, and that storm is coming through right now. So if you are not in your shelter yet, this is the time to be in your shelter. Big Sandy, storms are coming through the western side of the city right now as we speak. What we're really watching for here is maybe up to the north, so not necessarily in the city proper, but up to the north here. That's going to be the best area for rotation and potentially maybe an embedded tornado. Now, what that means is an embedded tornado is most likely rain wrapped. We were just talking about chasing, and truly tonight would be a really bad night to chase, because not only is it dark, but a lot of these tornadoes are rain wrapped, and it would be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to see these tornadoes. What we're watching for here are little divots in our line of storms. So we're watching for these little like inlets here that maybe a tornado could spin up And it looks like that area that I'm pointing to could be a potential area that we could have a tornado. Someone asked me, any active tornadoes? So we don't have any reports, any ground truth to this. We don't know if it's on the ground. Now, is it possible? Yes, we can see rotation here. We don't have any ground truth to this. One saying it's moving away from Jackson. Now, yes, it is. The tornado warning has been released from Jackson, so you're not in tornado warning anymore. But while it is moving away from you all, it's still, I mean, the highest winds are still sitting right over you right now. It's heavy rain right now, so it's definitely going to cause a flooding problem out there. Excuse me. Just kind of going down this line here, looking at this line of storms. Someone on the chat saying that Paris, Tennessee got hit pretty bad. If you want to give more details than that, you can. Let me know like what that means. Now I know that you're probably busy, or maybe even working on cleaning up, or maybe out and about after that storm came through. However, yeah, if you want to give more details on that, let us know what you mean by got hit pretty bad. High winds? Do you see anything, any tree limbs down, any power outages, any hail? Let us know. Another question about Mercer, Tennessee. So Mercer, Tennessee, we'll head farther down to the south here. Let's see, what radar are we on? We probably need to go over to our Memphis radar. So here we are on our Memphis radar here. Let's go down to the south. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Let's see, Mercer should be right around here, right? I think I'm in the right area. Ah, there we go. So the worst of it has also passed Mercer. We still have some high winds to your east, but you're probably getting rain right now. You probably got the high winds earlier, maybe 5-10 minutes ago. It was probably really, really loud as well. But the worst has passed you, and now you're getting rain. So the biggest risk that you face for the rest of the evening into the overnight hours will be that flooding risk. Your high wind, your hail risk has now passed. That's over. That is for Mercer, Tennessee. Jason says, in Paris, Tennessee, it's fine here, just hail and lots of rain and high winds. Yeah, I'm not surprised about the high winds. Let's see if we've got any more hail reports. We do right out of Paris. Okay, let me show you guys this. You can see this right here. So we've got 1-inch sized hail in Paris, reports of quarter-sized hail near Highway 54 and Hathaway Road. Let's see if we can get any pictures of that. I don't see any pictures on here. Okay, let me get back to your questions here in just a few minutes. Yeah, I don't see any pictures on here. What are your questions? Tornado warning gone. Not in Mercer. There's not a tornado warning in Mercer. It looks like the only one that I can see here. And then we've got one down in Mississippi. The only tornado warning that I can see here is near Big Sandy. So Big Sandy, make sure that you're still in your safe spot. This is some place that we've talked about. Oops. Let's go back here. This is one place that we've talked about just over and over and over tonight, is that you need to be in your safe spot in Big Sandy. I know it's been a while, but this is the time that you have to be in your safe spot. This is that storm that came through Paris, dropping hail on the left side of your screen, coming into Big Sandy right now. This tornado warning, according to the National Weather Service, let's see what they say here. Oh. The tornado warning is warned for Big Sandy and places to the north. It remains in effect until 8:30, so you still have about 16 more minutes on this. Moving to the northeast at 60 miles an hour, and what we're watching for here is a tornado and ping pong ball sized hail. So do you remember whenever about 20-30 minutes ago I said, hey, go ahead and move your car into the garage if you can now, because that storm will be here soon. I hope that you did that, because now we are watching for up to ping pong ball sized hail in this area. So it is looking like we've got some pretty decent chances for some large hail in this area. And actually, let me actually switch over to this radar here, and let's see what we can see from our VIL product. So VIL, V-I-L, is what a lot of meteorologists will use for identifying where the most likely place for hail will be. And whew, look at that right there. There's some hail in the northern side of Big Sandy. That's what we're watching for right here, or right there. Right here, where that red square is, anywhere from high rain just to the north of Big Sandy, and probably some hail right in this area where that red square is. And one question about rotation near Big Sandy, but no visuals. Yeah, so what we're watching for is right here. Actually, this is a phenomenal view, this radar view right here. This is where the tornado would be. You've got your rotation. It's where the greens meet the red. So it's right there. You're looking for these little notches right there. You've got a perfect view of a notch right there. Watch this. Watch how it just pops up right there. That's what you're watching for. There's your rotation. This is called normalized rotation, highlighted there in green and blue. So no, we cannot confirm a tornado here, but can we say that it's possible? Absolutely. It absolutely is possible. Kurt, you're on the right path here. Kurt's saying rain wrapped and nocturnal, keep them from being visual. Yeah, so you're not going to be able to see these tornadoes at all. We talked about this earlier on tonight, but I really like this conversation about how you can't see these tornadoes whenever we are in, you see that this line of storms. We have what we call embedded tornadoes, which means that they are embedded in rain in this line of storms, extremely difficult to see. And then it's dark, so you can't see it at all. Absolutely. So it's just not, this is what we were talking about earlier, it's just not a great night to chase. This would not be a night that I would pick to be out there. It's dangerous. These nocturnals, these tornadoes being nocturnal and rain wrapped make them even more dangerous than they already are. Now, I wonder if the National Weather Service is going to extend this warning because we are now watching for this little notch that is on the outside of this warning now. So places like McKinnon, Tennessee Ridge, Erin, Cumberland City, I would go ahead and make sure that you get in your safe space because I would be watching for this right here for potentially a tornado. That's what I'm watching for right here. Big Sandy, I would still stay in your safe spot because you have some strong wind and potentially some hail coming in. Now, this thing is booking it. It's moving to the northeast at 75 miles an hour. Holy moly. It is a fast moving storm. Kurt says that's a healthy notch. Yeah, it's showing up on radar really, really good here. I like to also go on my phone and look the radar on here because it's also a really, really good app. And it's not as impressive as what I see on my phone. It looks like there is a chance that it may be dying out, but right there, that could definitely be something. McKinnon, not in a tornado warning. However, I'm questioning that. Should they be? We've got a few questions, Lexington, Tennessee, and Camden. So let me go through some of these here. So Lexington is not in the rain right now. Let's go back to this radar view. Excuse me. Let's see, what's the best radar to pull for this? I don't know if there is a best radar for Lexington. Either way, Lexington is not in the path of, it is not in a storm right now. However, it is in the path of storms. So you can see that this line of storms extends all the way just to the west of Lexington. You're going to start to hear the rumble of thunder. You're going to start to see a strike of lightning. You're going to start to hear the winds very, very soon. And you're also going to get some really heavy rain from this. So the biggest risks here will be high wind, some small hail, the potential, excuse me, a little hiccup there, the potential for a tornado, and a flooding risk, okay? So that flooding risk is going to be probably one of the most impactful things that you're going to get tonight. You are in a flood watch right now. I think you're also in a tornado watch right now. So go ahead, stay prepared, keep watching the radar, keep watching all of your sources for storm information. You are in a, or just outside of a severe thunderstorm warning right now. Just outside of the severe thunderstorm warning. Someone asking about Jackson again. The worst is past you. The worst is past Jackson, okay? So on the east side of the city now, you're still getting rain. So you're still having that flooding risk, but the worst is past you. One person saying we're still hunkered down in the bathroom with your animals. Oh, well, and thank you for protecting your animals as well. I think that's, of course, very important. Another question about Camden. So we'll go back up here. Did they extend that tornado warning? They did not. I'm actually quite surprised. We don't have a tornado warning up here right now. Pretty surprised. Here's Camden. Camden is also about to get hit with storms, okay? So we talked about Camden earlier. We told you guys make sure you prepare now because you're most likely to get some storms here within the next hour. And the storms are here, okay? So make sure that if you are not already in your safe space, you are doing that now. You do not want to be out in this storm at all. Make sure that you are in the innermost room of your house and bring all of your important things that you need in your tornado shelter, whether that means your pets, your family, maybe you brought a pillow in there. We often say if things get really bad, you can put a pillow over your head. That's definitely a good idea. But in Camden, it's a severe thunderstorm warning, okay? So you're probably going to get some high winds out of this. You may even get some hail out of this. However, I'm not seeing any indication of a tornado here. So in Camden, I'm not terribly concerned about your safety. I would make sure that you are not out on the roads during this because that could be pretty dangerous, especially with that flooding and a hail threat. Clarksburg, it looks like we're getting a hail threat here right now. So that is something that you definitely do not want to be out in. You don't want to be hit with ice falling from the sky at really fast speeds. That's dangerous. All right, what other questions do we have? We have one question about Arkansas. Let's head out to Arkansas. We can get a check of other things that we're seeing across the U.S. right now. Actually, only one severe thunderstorm warning, two severe thunderstorm warnings outside of Tennessee right now. I take that back. There's a few in Kentucky. Either way, yeah, here we go into Louisiana right now. We have two severe thunderstorm warnings from Rayville to Bonita, and then going down to the south, Clarks into Georgetown. These severe thunderstorm warnings are warned for, I bet it's hail and wind, but I can check. I was right. Okay, so these are your baseline severe thunderstorm warnings highlighted there in yellow. It's for 60-mile-per-hour wind speeds and 1-inch size hail, quarter size hail. It's the size of a quarter, like a coin. Now, 58-mile-per-hour wind speeds or higher, that is what will prompt a severe thunderstorm warning. So we're kind of at the baseline there. It's nothing out of the ordinary. We see these all the time out in Louisiana. We see these all the time across the entire US, but they're used to this here. Nothing to be terribly concerned about. Let's go down to, or up to Helena, Arkansas. Let's see, I know it's right on the border here, or excuse me, on the state line. Either way, right in this area, zoom out. Ah, there we go. Right in this area, I'm not too concerned about the storms here either. Nothing is warned, but you are going to still have to deal with that flooding as we head into the late night hours. You are going to have to deal with that flooding into the late night hours. So you're still getting some rain in this area. If you are not getting rain right now, you've got more coming. So you will get rain here pretty soon, and you're probably going to get at least enough rain to continue that flood threat into the next few hours. So I would try to stay off the roads if you can. You're most likely going to see ponding on the roadways. It's going to be really, really wet in this area. So that's for Helena, West Helena. However, for the risk for high winds, hail, tornado, extremely low. I'm not expecting that in this area. No tornado warnings right now. No tornado warnings as we speak. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a look at our questions. And if we don't have any like major questions, we're going to hop off of here, but I want to make sure everyone's questions are answered first. Okay, we have a question about Tennessee Ridge, Tennessee. So we were just over there just a few minutes ago. So let me go back. Let me move the radar back over there. So storms are coming in right now to Tennessee Ridge. It is a severe thunderstorm warning. It's warned for ping pong ball sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So your tornado risk is low. Your hail risk is pretty promising. So the biggest risk here will be that hail risk. I would make sure that you're not out in this. You definitely don't want to be out in this. However, I'm not terribly concerned about you having to take shelter. Taylor asks, should we be worried in Tennessee Ridge? So I like to say be prepared, not scared. This is not a scary severe thunderstorm warning. This is just something you don't want to be outside in. You don't want to be outside whenever golf ball sized ice is falling from the sky. You want to be inside. So make sure that you're inside, but don't be worried. Be prepared, not scared. And that preparedness, of course, should have come an hour, 2 hours ago whenever that tornado watch was issued. And now you're prepared now, so you're not scared now. Either way, this is a baseline, essentially a baseline severe thunderstorm warning. It's common. I would not be worried about it, but you don't want to go outside in it. Yeah, Taylor's saying the storm definitely picked up, and it will. It'll probably be really loud. Oh, you're sleeping toddlers. I hope that they can sleep through this. I would make sure that they're not by a window, but other than that, I wouldn't be terribly concerned about sheltering at this point in Tennessee Ridge, but they may be woken up to this because yes, it's going to be loud. You're going to hear that high wind. You're going to hear a lot of lightning and thunder as well. You're going to see the lightning and hear the thunder. So I hope that they can sleep through this. We had another question about Dickson County. So Dickson County, very, very similar to what I said earlier, probably some large hail. If you're farther out, maybe near Cumberland City or Sladen, you have a little bit of time to move that car inside the garage if you can, if that's something that's available to you. Other than that, I would stay inside. Try not to be on the roads during this. But once again, I wouldn't be terribly concerned about sheltering in this. I think that this is a baseline thunderstorm with 60-mile-per-hour wind speeds, which may sound high, but you actually may be surprised about how often you get that. You've definitely been in a severe thunderstorm warning before, then you've felt 60-mile-per-hour wind speeds, okay? It's just your baseline. It's just your barely over that severe threshold. Now, the other thing that you're going to watch for here is that large hail. Ping pong ball sized hail is possible. There's nothing that you can do about that really at all. I would hope that your car is not out in that, but you should have been prepared by now. Actually, one place that I'm looking at hail, let me make sure I'm on the right radar here. Huntingdon? Sorry, y'all, I can't pronounce that. Let's see. Look at this. Some really good hail signatures. Just to the south of Brewston, Holiday, you're most likely getting some really good hail right now. This is most likely pretty large hail, at least the size of a golf ball, ping pong ball, or higher or larger. Kurt saying you don't want to be outside if there's ping pong ball sized hail out there. No, you don't. Absolutely not. But if you're inside, you'll probably hear it. You probably need to have your roof checked tomorrow if you get ping pong ball sized hail. But other than that, you won't. It's not going to be a threat to your life like a tornado will be. More questions about Paris, Tennessee. This is some place that we've talked about quite a bit tonight. Paris, Tennessee got those strong storms earlier, and it may be raining now. However, the worst is past you. I'm not worried about the severe risk for the rest of the night. You can go to bed and sleep tight, not worrying about those storms. Another Jackson is also okay now. Yes, same thing for Jackson that I said for Paris, where you can go to bed. You're probably going to hear some light to moderate rain out there. The biggest issues that I'm going to be worried about for Jackson, and not even worried, but be aware of, is that flooding risk. And truly, even with that, if you're not on the roadways, I think that you'll be okay and outside of that flooding risk. But yeah, the worst has passed Jackson already. One person asking, can I drive home? Where are you driving from? I would try, Jackson, Tennessee. Okay, can you drive home in Jackson? I would be really careful. You know what? Let's actually just look at the conditions in Jackson right now. Here we go. So here's your Jackson TDOT cameras. So this is the Department of Transportation. It looks like on the roadways, these are the main roadways. They're going to be wet, so take your time. But for the most part, it's doable to drive home. You know the drill here. Turn around, don't drown. You know that area that always seems to flood in your neighborhood or maybe your friend's neighborhood. You don't want to be in that area, okay? You want to take another route because those are going to be the areas that are probably flooded right now. But other than that, it looks like a lot of cars are getting on the roads fine. Some of them still running their hazards, so maybe they're indicating to us that still ponding on the roadways. Let's take a look at our power outages. I'm actually pretty impressed right now. There's not a ton of power outages. There's a little over 160 power outages out in West Tennessee. That's not a ton. And a little over 200 power outages up to the north. So really our power outages are looking really good right now. That's great to hear. Tyler saying no golf ball sized hail in Greenfield. Yeah, I agree. Just drive slow. Make sure that you are not in any flooded roadways. But just drive slow, and I think that you'll probably be fine. I would be more worried about those back roads, the on-ramps, the off-ramps, where you could get little dips in the road, and that's where your biggest flooding issue is going to be. But for the most part, I'm not terribly worried about your drive home. All right, let's go back to our radar here. Let's see what we're looking at here. Just taking a wide view of what we're looking at. Excuse me. Several severe thunderstorm warnings up to the north from Tennessee to Kentucky. As we follow this line down into Jackson, nothing severe warned in southern Tennessee right now. As we get into northern Mississippi, it's also pretty quiet. Quiet is a relative term here. It may be loud for you guys. It may be lightning, thundering right now. However, nothing is severe until you get to the central portion of the state. And that is where you have a severe thunderstorm warning in Greenville going over to Greenwood. And you have a tornado warning. So this tornado warning is for a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Chula. I hope I'm saying that correctly. 11 miles to the east of Belzoni, moving to the northeast at 65 miles an hour. The biggest hazard will be the potential of a tornado, or the hazard is the tornado. The National Weather Service is saying take cover now, move to a basement or an interior room with the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows if you are outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle. Move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. So that is for this tornado warning highlighted here in pink for Chula. Going into Blackhawk, let's go to, let's choose a radar over here, and let's look at some of the more specific radar signatures that maybe we can get some more information about this tornado warning. There's not a lot of great radars here. Unfortunately, this may be what we would consider a radar hole. Essentially what that means is that it's right in between several radars, and we don't get good coverage here at all. It's a radar hole. Radar coverage hole may be a better term for it. So let this data load in, and then we'll, oh yeah, there's some pretty good rotation with this. All right, let me switch over. Oops. It's back where it belongs. Okay, here's your rotation. We've done this several times tonight, so you should probably know what we're looking at by now. We're looking for where what we usually say the green's touching the red. However, oh, okay. There we go. Yeah, that was some bad data. I was like, that's not green. There you go. Green touching the red right here. So this is what we're looking for, right where the red square is, right here. We have some normalized rotation here. So normalized rotation is picking up some rotation signatures. Correlation coefficient, we don't want to see blues. So where the red square is, we don't want to see blues because that means that there is debris most likely lofted in the air. And the fact that we're not seeing blues is most likely a good sign. I'm not worried about this stuff over here, okay? This is a totally, like, look, it's not even raining right there. So you may see some blues right there, but we're not, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about right here. And let's see where this thing is going. It's moving to the north and east. I think I read earlier, what is that, 50, 55 miles an hour? Yeah, 55 miles, 60 miles an hour. This thing is fast. And if you weren't on here earlier whenever I was explaining how fast these things move, think about whenever you're on the road and you're going what? Probably on the roadway, let's say highway. You're probably going 60, 65 miles an hour, maybe depending on what highway it is, maybe you're up to 70 or 75 miles an hour. Now, if you are stuck in the rain, let's say you're right over here and you're stuck in the rain, now you're going a little bit slower. Now, if there's a tornado behind you and you're stuck in the rain and you're going about 60 miles an hour, you can't outrun that storm. Unfortunately, that's why we say don't be on the roads at this time. You can't outrun the storm. These storms tonight have been moving really, really fast. At 60 miles an hour is what we're watching for right now. Okay, one more question. Is Nashville going to see anything? I think this is a great opportunity to look at the models. Okay, you guys, I'm going to switch this over. Here we go. I'm actually going to do this. Okay. So the National Weather Service has trimmed this down a little bit. So Hot Springs, Arkansas, obviously not included in the risk anymore. This is your wind forecast for today. Beaumont also not included in the risk anymore. I just haven't updated these graphics because I've been on the live stream with you all. Memphis, we saw high winds in Memphis. This verified. Nashville, this is what we're asking here. Is Nashville going to see anything? You have a pretty good risk for 60 to 65 mile per hour wind gusts. Will it get up to 70? I think that's doubtful. We haven't seen that already. We haven't seen that yet tonight, or at least not very promising. So I think right around that 60 to 65 mile per hour wind gust is what we're watching here for Nashville. Now it is included in the tornado risk. That's a level 2 tornado risk highlighted there in yellow for Nashville, Tennessee. That will be into the late night hours. So let's get to potentially, let's see, where's my radar? Now again, this is left over from last time we did the forecast. We don't have a forecast on Saturday, so we don't keep this updated too much here. I don't know where this is gonna zoom into. Let me just go ahead and do this. You guys can see some inside baseball into our graphics here. Here's what I'm gonna do. Oops. You guys are gonna get to see like the inner workings of my computer, but I really want to get down into this. Alrighty, here we go. Future radar. Let's get down to Nashville. Okay, I like that. Alrighty, so this was earlier this afternoon. Earlier this afternoon, those storms started up. They took us, it was slow at first. They took their sweet time really starting to get strong or severe. But once that happened, man, they really blew up, and they were severe for quite some time, and they're still severe right now. Here we are, it's about 8:30. This is where your line of storms are, anywhere from the western portion of Tennessee all the way down to the western portion of Mississippi and into Louisiana. We still have some severe storms in Louisiana right now. What's the timing for Nashville? After 10 o'clock, after 11 o'clock. So between about 11 and 1 o'clock this morning, it looks like that's whenever you're going to get storms in Nashville. So it's going to be late. Maybe you're already in bed by this time. Make sure that you have multiple ways to get severe weather alerts, because if you do have a warning, you want to know about it. You want to know what actions to take. Go ahead and take those preparation actions right now before you go to bed. So from Nashville to Huntsville to Birmingham to Montgomery, make sure that you have all of the things that you want to take to your shelter with you, maybe already in your shelter. A lot of people would say take a flashlight, a whistle, put your shoes on. You will want to have your shoes on in the shelter. I know it's late, but if something does happen, you're going to want to have your shoes on. So put all of those things in your shelter ahead of time. If you have any important documents or medication, also take those into the shelter with you. And then if you want to go to bed, make sure that you have multiple ways to receive alerts. That means that one of them at least has to be able to wake you up. So if storms come through and they're severe or tornado warned, it can wake you up, and then you can get up and go to your shelter. Everything is already there. You're prepared, not scared. Again, the timing for storms to come through Nashville will be between about 11 o'clock tonight to 1 a.m. on Sunday morning. Now, these storms will continue to track to the east as we head into the overnight hours tonight and into early Sunday morning, which is something that we talked about earlier, that we're going to get storms out to the east tomorrow morning as well, into the Florida Panhandle. So there's your answer. Is Nashville going to see anything? The biggest risks will be that hail, high wind, and tornado risk. You also are in a flooding risk. So all hazards are on the board tonight. So try to stay inside if you can. Kurt says, enjoy some wine and a movie while it storms in Nashville. Going to be a late night. Yeah, well, make sure that you're like mostly sober if those storms come through. You want to make good decisions. But yes, if you need to stay up with a movie and wait for storms to come in, I think that's a great idea. Alrighty, y'all, we're kind of winding down on our questions. I've answered all of the questions that I see here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave up the radar. I'm going to take a short break here. We do have some severe thunderstorm warnings right now and a tornado warning. However, we haven't had any indication that anyone on here is watching for central Mississippi. Okay, this is just to the north of Jackson, Mississippi, by maybe an hour. Black Hawk, Chula, Koila, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Those are all in a tornado warning right now. But I'm going to leave up the radar so that you all can see exactly what we're watching. And I'll hop back on here in just a few minutes. Hello, thanks for joining us this evening. For all those who are still on here, um, we'll answer a few more questions before we hop off this evening. However, we do have a few severe thunderstorm warnings right now, one tornado warning. Other than that, your severe risk is still going to continue through the late night hours. However, the risk right now is uh, just above severe threshold. So just above that that line to actually go ahead and issue these warnings. So the National Weather Service has issued this warning up to the north in Elkton and Guthrie. See this. They've also got a flood warning, but let's look at the severe thunderstorm warning. This goes until 9:30. These storms are moving fast, 65 miles an hour to the north and east, and this is for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-sized hail. Again, that is a baseline warning. That is your very, very typical warning. We've all seen this before. Nothing to be too concerned about. Very similar as we go down to Clarksville for quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. The hail looking a little bit more promising. In this area, 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and half-dollar-sized hail, so a little bit bigger there, but still nothing monstrous. We do have a tornado warning highlighted here in purple. This tornado warning, let's see when this goes until. It's not giving me information on here, so I have to go to my phone. And it looks like this tornado warning is either being expired or potentially canceled. We'll have to see what the National Weather Service does with this one. This severe thunderstorm warning for, okay, let's see, get our bearings. Where are we at? We're in central Mississippi, barely skimming the far southeastern side of Arkansas in, what is that, Eudora? This severe thunderstorm warning goes until they may have canceled this one as well. We'll have to see what they do with that. Yeah, it looks like they did cancel that tornado warning. Maybe they're cleaning up here, canceling this severe thunderstorm warning, but they did issue a new severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Mississippi, and that goes until 9:45. They're warning this for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, not looking for any hail here. This is moving a little bit slower, about 35 miles an hour, whereas earlier we were seeing about 60 miles an hour. And very similar for this severe thunderstorm warning that goes into the northern and western side of Louisiana. This is warned for nickel-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Luffy says, please tell me it's not that bad because I'm close. So all of these warnings out here right now are baseline. So I'll actually show you what that means. If we can go back to our graphics, I'll show you what that means here. Let's see, what graphic do we need here? Well, I can't seem to find it. But I was going to show you a graphic that basically explained the different types of severe thunderstorm warnings that we could have. And it is not popping up on here. Oh, here we go. Okay, perfect. Alrighty, I can show you this now. Oh. Okay. Here you go. Your severe thunderstorm categories. What in the world is going on? Okay, severe thunderstorm categories. So you have that baseline. That's what I was talking about earlier. 58 mile per hour wind speeds or higher. So we're at 60 mile per hour wind speeds right now. Okay? It's severe warned, but nothing to be terribly concerned about. Now I get concerned whenever we get up to that considerable category, 70 mile per hour wind speeds or golf ball sized hail. So you got your larger hail. We saw that earlier. We're not seeing that right now. Now you could get even higher than that. We've got a destructive category that's 80 mile per hour wind speeds or higher, which means that this could be maybe your derecho. This could be a little notch, like if you start to see those backward C shapes in the radar, that means that we've got some really strong winds with this. So that could be those really strong winds, but I don't think that we're going to see that tonight at all. Maybe that considerable warning, maybe that's possible, but that destructive warning, I do not think that we'll see tonight. Now, of course, make sure that you have your WEA, your wireless emergency alerts, turned on your devices so that if you do decide to go to bed and something gets a little bit stronger, then the National Weather Service can alert you about that. Of course, we also have those tornado potential tonight as well. And actually, I can just show you the, excuse me, I can show you the radar, what we're expecting to happen tonight, maybe if this will load. Okay, there we go. So we're expecting these storms to continue to track to the east through the overnight hours. Here we go. It is currently about 9 o'clock right now. So let's go to 9 o'clock. Storms are still farther off to the west in the western side of Tennessee, heading into central Mississippi right now. But we'll continue to see this to track to the east as we head into the overnight hours into Nashville between about 11 and 1 o'clock tonight. Huntsville shortly after that between about 12 and 2 a.m. Birmingham into the overnight hours, you're asleep by this point. It's 1, maybe 2 a.m., and storms are coming into your area. Montgomery, even into the earlier morning hours. Atlanta, as we get into early Sunday morning, that's whenever your storms will arrive. So that's what we're expecting for the rest of the night. Let's go back to this here. And since we don't have any tornado warnings, I do think that I'm going to jump off of here. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. I appreciate you hopping on. Make sure that you press that follow button so that you're alerted if we do a live later on tonight or maybe even tomorrow. Now, I would hit that follow button and subscribe or turn on your alerts as well, because if we do have anything strong to severe that is worth noting tonight, that's not just your baseline storm, but maybe some really large hail, maybe some extreme wind, we of course will jump back on here and make sure that you are alerted about that. So hit that follow button and we will be back on here whenever we have more storms. Man, an early season storm right here, this late February, it's not even late February, it's middle February, and we're already seeing something that looks very spring-like. It was really interesting to watch this tonight, so we appreciate you guys hopping on. I hope that everyone is safe. Stay safe from the flooding, stay safe from the storms tonight. Thanks for joining us. So we'll see you back here, same time, or I guess for the forecast, it's usually same time, same place, but we'll see you back here whenever we have storms once again. Have a good night.